Hello and welcome to the Extracast with myself, Nick Boddington and James Urquhart. Today we have David and Sean. David and Sean.
Fucking Sean.
Because I'm reading. It's because I'm reading it.
He's been growing his hair quite a lot over lockdown.
who set up Beyond Company in July 2019 from scratch with a passion to help people live a life of purpose. Putting everything they know into practice, they created a business training coaches, aspiring coaches and leaders how to overcome mental and emotional obstacles and create transformational results through their online programs. They have now worked with over 30 people, training them in NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, timeline therapy and coaching to enhance their life and the lives of others. Today, we're going to be talking to them on the Extracast about their journey of starting up and how they've used social media to take them to where they want to go and how they're going to continue growing their business. Hello, David and Sian.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks.
How are you doing? You all right?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Well, you know myself and James.
We do.
Good to see
James,
you both.
you're going to say hello to our guests.
Hello. Sorry. I was still trying to get round that you just called Sean.
Yeah, say hello to Sean
But
here.
no one's going to hear that because I was going to re-record the intro, but now the audience know. So yes,
You've been called
read, I did read
yeah.
the script and called Sean. So I do apologise, Sean.
That's
Welcome to the Extracast. You know who we are because you use our agency. But as we've said, this isn't about us promoting our agency. This is us talking about your journey, and really about how you've used social media, what made you use social media, and it's worked fantastically for you. But the journey you've been on has gone through lots of different stages. I know that I haven't worked on your account myself, but I'm always hearing about your account and how it's pivoting into different places. So it's a great one for us to talk about because it's it's what our audience and listeners listen to. It's what they're all going through on a day-to-day basis because there are so many small business owners and freelancers especially, and we just get so much good feedback from the things that come out of these interviews. So why don't you start off with a brief explanation of what your business is?
I'm not good at brief, so
Well, we've got like half an hour, 40 minutes. So.
So we run training programs for coaches, aspiring coaches, leaders, anyone who works with team, and part of that role is
dealing with people.
Yeah, where there's people involved.
Yeah.
So we train them in various modalities to become accredited as coaches, to be able to overcome the kind of, as you mentioned in the intro, the mental and emotional obstacles that people have going on for them so that they can be their very best version.
Okay. So is your business teaching people how to do that, how to deliver that to people who need those changes, or is it to make those changes for those people that you're teaching? Does that make sense?
Both.
Kind of both,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people come onto the program because they're in leadership roles, they're coaching. So it's very much about the people that they're working with. And through the program itself, very often they discover that they themselves have got certain things that maybe they want to overcome. Maybe that's like overcoming imposter syndrome, certain conflicts that they have about how to take their business forward. A lot of people do tend to spend a lot of time and money on business style programs, which are fantastic, very much about creating more for them. We don't do that. What we look at is the mindset stuff that stops people from maybe applying everything that they learn, what stops them achieving greatness whilst others do, following similar processes. And very often it boils down to mindset and limiting beliefs, negative emotion, conflicts that they might have.
Is it creating anxiety for people then? So even
we don't create anxiety for people.
No, not you. Not you.
We help them solve that.
So that's what I mean. So leaders, business owners, people who managerial roles and things like that, they've got anxiety in their day-to-day lives of where the business is going or how to manage teams and things like that. And that's what you're about, helping them.
Right.
But at the same time, also, your program teaches people how to then also help people like that.
Yes.
Absolutely. So they can then work with others, be that clients or the people that their team that they already work with, to help them overcome their anxieties, fears, beliefs, and
So
behaviours.
those two separate programs then for two different audiences?
Same program.
Very different messages. Yeah, same program, different messaging.
Depending on who we're talking to.
Okay. So that's where that's going to come in. So the reason I asked that is because then when you set up the business, you've got one of the things we talk about is that you've got to have a persona, and or an avatar of who you're trying to target. You had two people, two different types, two different businesses.
When we set up the business, we had no avatar. Then we didn't even know what that meant. So
I thought it was one of those blue things.
I was like,
no, that's the thing. Yeah, the film Avatar completely.
Then I think we had about 10,000 avatars. And then we whittled it down to 2 focus ones. That because there are 2 of us, we thought we can focus individually on those 2.
Right. Okay. So would that be? So is that? Would you say you split the business down in the middle then, as in like you would have a workshop for the one avatar and different workshop for 2, or could they be entwined?
They can be entwined in terms of the program, because even those that come to learn about being a coach, and it may be for themselves, the overriding kind of theme throughout is that they want to help people. So whether it's helping one-to-one or as a team or in their own life, that's the kind of theme that is consistent throughout. Yeah.
Okay. So when you sat there and you're like, right, this is our business, then we need to go and get people. Did you think social media was the way and the route to do it? Because I know that we've taken you.
Well, Nick, actually, before we go there, how did it all start for you guys?
The setting up of the business.
Yeah.
So just about 2 years ago, we went to, we have a shared passion for the Spice Girls.
This is where the colour of my skin.
Right. This is a different way of starting.
Okay. I wasn't expecting this, Sian, at all, but go on.
We were at the Spice Girls reunion, spicing up our life.
Yeah.
So we were having a bit of a reflective moment of the past, because they're from our youth, and where we're going in the future, chatting about our goals, and realised that we both had really similar passions and ambitions of where we wanted to take our own businesses. So
I think, like many people that get into business, one of the biggest values is, well, certainly for us and the people that we speak to, is freedom. It's having that freedom that perhaps when you were in a job or consultancy, you didn't have. And that was a big thing that both Sian and I shared. So we set up and we did a project. That was how we just called it a project, because calling it a business was probably a little bit daunting for us at that stage. So we thought it's easier if we just call it a project, because then that means we don't have to necessarily go with it if we don't want to. But so we did our first training course as a project, and we loved it, and it worked, and we worked together in terms of our interaction with our audience. So it became very quickly a business.
Yeah.
Do you have the same background then? Your own businesses were the same? And then
we were coaching individually. So I was coaching. I tended to do more corporate style coaching, coaching with teams. Your coaching style was quite different.
Yeah, I was more kind of one-to-one therapeutic coaching, for want of a better word, helping people with things like anxiety, confidence. More individual-based coaching.
Yeah, the modalities, that's the word I'm looking for. The modalities that we used were the same. Yeah. So we were trained to the same level, and that's what we use. So we just we figured if we can bring those 2 skill sets together, those 2 types of audiences, that could be really impactful, because for every corporate high flyer, they still have that side of them that is more holistic, and that's attractive to them. And equally for those people that are in more of the holistic field, that business kind of coaching side is probably exactly what they need as well to help them progress with what they want to do. So really, we came together off our shared values around helping others, but kind of demanding freedom for ourselves as well, and wanting to create something for us that gives us freedom as to what we want, and leaves behind a good legacy as well.
Yeah. So you set up that course Was that like was that in my head? I'm thinking, you know, you've hired a room in a hotel, you've invited people to it, and you've stood up in front of them.
Right.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, we ran a couple of free intro events. Come and find out what NLP is, and see if you like it. And if you do, then you can book onto our course.
We did use Facebook, interestingly, but more of a who do we know on Facebook? Let's get in contact with all of them and talk to them about what we do. So we didn't use it in the way that we have used it with you guys.
It was a bit of a scattergun approach.
Right, I think that's fair to say.
LinkedIn, Facebook, friends, people on the street.
Yeah.
Just telling anyone and everyone.
But it worked. And you made some money.
It got us going. Yeah.
Took a lot of time and energy. It wasn't very efficient. Yeah, it kick-started the business, and without that, we probably wouldn't.
What's really nice is actually how you've gone into this and gone, we're going to do a little project. I love that, because I think you're right. Actually, a lot of people look at quitting their job, or and then they call it maybe a side hustle or whatever, and it's quite daunting, isn't it? Actually, calling it a project is, again, totally changing it completely in terms of the mindset and going, let's just give this a little go.
Right.
Yeah. There was no pressure involved. It was just see if we like it, and that was what it was about for us, really, wasn't it? See how we got on together doing business.
Paradoxically, the course is for other people, and that was also about us as well. And just does this work for us? And I think that, I don't know, with business owners, who offer services, it very often is about, and it has to be about your end consumer. We always like to take a step back and think, how is this going for us as well? Because ultimately that's the reason we got into it. And the last thing we want is to become employees in our business and not have all that freedom that we demand. So yeah, the project.
I was just going to say about the freedom. It's good that you do that, because we've been, we've not done that in the past. With both of what we do, and it's something we probably both look back on, Nick, actually, and go, God, actually we're probably just working on it pretty a bit too much, and actually pretty to the detriment of the business.
Look back on.
I was going to say, I was trying to be kind then, but
I haven't moved from this chair since 8:30.
Well,
You rammed some food down my throat before this thing, and I've got my crisps on the thing on the window, so I haven't had a chance to eat them. So
we say about freedom, and for certainly the last 12 months, I think there's been like some 15 to 18 hour days quite consistently.
Yeah,
with freedom.
You have to go through that though. I think that's the thing, but I think it's one of those. It's getting to the point of the freedom takes a serious amount of hard work and long hours.
What are you prepared to sacrifice to get that freedom? Yeah,
and it's a gamble, isn't it? Because you don't know if it's. Obviously, you've proven concept. You've got a business that works. But I know, James, with what we've been through, everything. I would say, there's obviously we've learned as we've gone along, and there's still things we learn from mistakes, and we're probably building this a lot quicker than the last business because of the things we've learned from. But still, we've had endless things that have come up against us that are completely out of our control. Well, look at the pandemic.
Actually, Nick, I was going to say, let's stop it there. I was going to say, in terms of the pandemic and COVID, that must have affected you guys like tremendously.
So we were February, we ran our last classroom-based training, because that was how we ran. We did 8 days in the classroom.
February 2020, that was, yeah.
We were booked to do another training in July, and that was fully booked. We were looking at putting extra dates on, and then lockdown. We lost probably 60% of business overnight.
Just over 60%, yeah.
Wow. And the inquiries just stopped coming through. And of course, we couldn't deliver the training in the way that we usually would.
Yeah. Gosh.
So to keep the business going, it was a case of going virtual. So we took our trainings online and ran them for 8 days via Zoom, which was brilliant. And our students had great results. And sitting looking at us on a screen for 8 hours at a time, while you've got a cat on your head and a child asking for breakfast, wasn't ideal.
And it's different, isn't it? When you're in front of a computer, you'd think, I remember back to March 2020 thinking, this is so easy now. Like, we can just be in front of our computers all day. We haven't got to get ready and go out. It's tiring though, being in front of your laptop, especially when you're learning on a program. So we only did that once, didn't we?
We did that once. Then we ran another training course in October, which halfway through we went into lockdown again.
Right.
So it was a bit this yo-yo of
that was half classroom,
half online. Then we were due to do one again in February, and it was another lockdown. So we looked at the business and we said, right, we can keep waiting to find out if we're in another lockdown, or we can change what we do and take control and work out how we can deliver it regardless of lockdown. So early on, it was a bit of a, oh my moment, what are we going to do? But what it's actually caused us to do is bring some of our kind of 5-year goals forward and completely change the way that we run the programs, which has been brilliant, isn't it?
We had a 5-year goal to be able to take our business beyond the West Midlands, as in have trainings running across the country. We didn't know how that was going to happen, but by doing what we've done and taking it online, we've got people from all over the country. In fact, we ran a coach clinic yesterday evening, and we had a lady from France join us, which is like so cool. Phenomenal. That we can do that now as well. So very
well, we now our business model's completely changed. So we now run, rather than 8 days in the classroom, we do a 10-week online program, which is all pre-recorded, and then incorporates live sessions once a week, where we take all that learning that they've had throughout the week, which they do in their own time and at their own pace, and then put it into practical applications, so they get to use the techniques with each other via Zoom. So the results have been amazing, haven't they?
So it's kind of gone a bit more evergreen.
Right.
Yeah, it has.
Which is what most people who do anything like that, or courses or whatever, that's like the holy grail, isn't it? How can I build a business that I don't have to be there, but the value's great? And once going into the funnel, because I think we introduced you to the world of funnels, didn't we? And you get those right funnels in place, which
they just existed under my sink until then.
Yeah. But once those things are in place, you can just turn it up, can't you?
Yeah.
So absolutely. Okay, so going back to the beginning, you've proven concept, you've had people come in, you've had all these ups and downs, but you've got something people are going to pay for. And I think that's the biggest thing. So when we, going back to our early days, it was lots of different clients we had. When we're talking to clients now and bringing them on, one of the biggest things that we want to know now is, have they proven concept? Because otherwise, because as you know, it can take a long time to build these things up, and then you've got additional costs and things like that. Plus, we don't know as an agency if your product or service is actually going to sell. So we want to look at the data in a way that, okay, well, we know it may be that it's come from a warmer audience, and now in social media marketing that we're doing, you go into a colder audience, you need to bring that in. So the conversion rates are going to be a little bit less, but the concept's already been proven. So when you were sitting there going, okay, well, we need to get out there now, how did you think about doing that?
Oh, so I ran a series of Facebook adverts, didn't I? Do you remember? And they were really successful. They were spot on.
What we don't know is why.
I don't know why. I don't know how. And I ran them, and then I ran them again, and they flopped. And then I ran them again, didn't change anything, and they flopped. So I think, and by the way, when I say ran them again, that was like 12-hour days, then creating a slight tweak on design, a slight tweak on message. And I just didn't get it. I got nothing about what was happening. For me, if it works the first time, it works every time, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my model, really, that I work from.
But the world,
we kind of work from the same thing. We kind of work.
The world had changed. Yeah, the world had changed, but also I realised that when we were introduced to you guys and you started talking in this foreign language and things that you consider that we had never even heard of, I think we probably pretty quickly realised that this is just something that's beyond what we want to learn how to do, because it's not our business, and there's so much to it.
We hadn't kind of looked at things like how much is each click costing us, and it was just, we'll put £10 on an ad and see what happens, and throwing no strategy, just random bits of money at stuff, sometimes getting results, sometimes not. So it was a bit disheartening as a business, because we didn't really know what we were doing, and it was hit and miss, no consistency in what we did and what we said.
What it did do, which is a positive, is it did fill our second program.
It did,
that we ran. So it did do that. It was just quite a painful experience to get there, and took a hell of a lot of time and head scratching.
Were you boosting posts, or were you actually doing it in Ads Manager?
Absolutely.
So you weren't even using Ads Manager itself?
Sometimes. And we were doing things which we've learned from Matt since, may not be the most effective way of keeping your costs down, like changing adverts halfway through their campaign and make it, which
if we didn't get a lead in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, right, I've got to change the picture, I've got to change the message.
But do you know what, it's not uncommon. You know, a lot of the people I deal with from a consulting point of view, I'm getting texts from them, you know, 4 hours later saying, oh, this has happened, or I haven't had an order through now. I'm just like, just patience. And that's the thing, we look at ads every day just to make sure things are right, but then we don't make any calculated decisions until like 7, 14 or 30 days really. But that's it. But it's easy for us to do. That's not our money. So, you know, a client's given us the budget and we're not emotional to it. But you, especially in the early days, you know, when you're making more money on these things, you can have some clearer budgets in place that aren't going to affect you or your business in any way. You know, it's advertising budget. But at the beginning, you're sort of, you know, taking from Peter to pay Paul to put it into advertising to do this, and what if it doesn't work, and then blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you managed to fill 2 workshops through winging it, really, really winging it.
Yeah, we're very much a believer of, firstly, when it comes to the courses, it's like, get them to come and then build it rather than the other way around. And that will learn by doing rather than go and learn about it and then do it. It's like the quickest way to learn is to just get on with it and
fall forward, as my dad would say.
So was it always Facebook? Did you just have like, we need to be on Facebook and this is the type of advertising we're going to be doing then to promote ourselves?
Aside from LinkedIn, I think Facebook was kind of the only route that we knew of in terms of advertising.
LinkedIn proves useful, although it was for us very, very time heavy to build relationships that way. Because it's quite pitchy. If you've got LinkedIn accounts, you'll know that you're going to get 10 messages a day with someone selling you something. So a lot of people don't even pick up your messages, and it was very hit and miss in terms of what we got. But LinkedIn and Facebook, that's what filled our second course.
And I suppose you make Facebook work. You just needed it to work properly.
Yes.
Yeah. For the business and for our sanity.
Okay. Yeah. So what made you, at what stage did you come on to as an agency then? You know, take on an agency, and what brought you to the point of finding an agency?
Well, this is interesting, Nick, actually. So before Dave and Sian answer this, I believe, and Dave and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, is that as where we were back then and where you guys are now, you were probably in between of shouldn't have gone out to the marketplace potentially. Obviously, I know you guys have learned a lot, and I'm sure you don't look back at it as a negative at all. But you know, I think we discussed it. If we do it, David, wasn't it? It's like, oh, were you on the edge of, should you, shouldn't have you? And it's So I'm going off at one now.
In terms of the first adverts that we ran with you guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think, as we spoke about on reflection, because last year has been such a year of change for everyone and everything, what we were necessarily putting out there was potentially, I think, in conflict with, as in the message, the advert, with what we were then creating at that time, which was a different way of doing it, taking it from classroom into being online.
Yeah, it was a bit of a limbo stage, because we talk with you guys, and when we first set up, we didn't really know what we were selling, because we didn't know if it was a classroom based training or online at the time. It was a bit of wait and see. So yeah, there was that conflict of what do we do?
We've treated it very much, the first 6 months of working with you guys, as a massive education for us in that it's a long game, and that for me has been the biggest thing to let go of. And it's only been, if I'm honest with you, this year, at the start of this year, that we let go of that. because I wanted, like our one-day events that we used to run, people would attend, we'd spend a day with them, we would pitch them what we do, and people would enroll on the program. So I wanted within that one day, Facebook to deliver the same, because why wouldn't it, in my head, back in last summer when we all met for the first time. So when that didn't happen, and when I appreciate you have to experiment with things and test things out, I certainly went through a period of frustration of, what's this about? How does this work? How can we get our head around it? But I think that what I'm concluding on for now, this could change, is that it is just a very, very much a case of testing things, getting an education off the back of that, adapting, and then ultimately striving for that turn tap on, turn tap off, which is where we want to get to. But I think that, like anything worth doing, that just doesn't happen overnight. And
well, interestingly, it doesn't happen overnight yet. What we were getting from you guys were tons of leads.
Oh, that's true.
Our conversion rates and stuff from landing page to signing up was phenomenal. But I think our kind of follow-up, that's been the learning curve since, is where we take them on that journey. It was a bit like, oh gosh, we've got them, what do we do with them?
Right. So the continuation of that funnel as well, just beyond the lead coming in.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people, when they come into using Facebook, or they go use PPC, or Facebook especially probably is the main one, is that they think it's going to fix all their problems. Now you're in that limbo of workshop face to face, or actually now we're going on Zoom and we're going online. If you're still running ads, what is that message and what are they going? Where are they going? And like I said, then Sian, things like the follow-up, the volume of customers that we still have today that, we're creating leads for them and we're asking what the follow-up is and all this stuff, and they don't have it. It's just not there. And it's very frustrating for us then, because obviously, we want them to progress, we want them to make loads of money, and we want them to convert these leads into paying customers. But some of it is generally out of our control a lot of the time. It's please do that.
And I think it is, if you look at it as a learning experience, if you're able to, what is interesting is that from those leads that came through, albeit we didn't have any nurturing campaigns back then, what we did do is make the effort to connect with them individually, to stay in contact with them. Now we have become much clearer on what the business is, with the new setup for it. We've had some of those people come back through and reconnect and contact us. So 6 months ago, they were a lead that we could have said were lost, but actually through that process of nurturing,
we've had two people.
We had two people
come on the course.
Yeah,
which is amazing, and that's where people. And especially even for our own business, like Nick said about the consultancy that we now do, we've had our own, our own funnel's gone live now. We're probably 8 weeks into that now. And to start with, the cost of lead was £180. So I said to Matt, come on, can we reduce this? But I wasn't hasty, but obviously I know it's going to work because I've got faith in these guys. So I've, even though I'm sitting in the background going, oh God, a bit like you, David, this is really frustrating. I knew it'd get there. We're now at £30 a lead, which is fantastic. But already we've had to pause it on Tuesday, because we've got too many leads. And I know our follow-up process isn't right. It's working, but it can work better. So we've actually paused it, assess them in the emails, assess how we follow up, and do we add some more human element to it? And I'm hoping then our conversion gets to where it is. But I'll always look at, for that particular funnel, I'll always look at the lifetime value. So I won't look at the sort of one-off transaction, because it just won't look very good.
Yeah.
and it's not the true value of that what customer can be. What is that true value? And that's for me, and especially with the stuff you guys do, it's that, how much can you actually extract from these in terms of value, and looking at it from a longer game perspective. But like you said, David, it's frustrating if you're new to it, and it's bloody scary, especially when you've got someone else doing it, because you've got to really trust them.
Yeah, it's true. And also, as a new business who's setting up, it's about making sure you've got the budget to be able to invest in that as well, because we were, like Sian said, throwing £10 a day in. Well, that might work for some industries, but you've got to look at that investment you're willing to put in for what you're going to get out of it. So I think there's a lot to it. A lot of reward when it works, but I don't think it's an overnight thing. It's about, like you say, seeing that longer term vision. I think, do you know what? I think it also helps us take the business more seriously as well, in that
we're in it for the long term.
We're in it for the long term. So therefore, that's how we should look at that and treat that like that. So I've not thought of it that way before, but I think that kind of additionally helped us personally to come to the realization that, yeah, this is a long-term thing for us, because Facebook is a long-term thing. So are we in it for the long term or not?
Sticking around.
I'll stick around for a bit longer. Yeah.
Good to know. But even with us and our clients, all of our clients, we need clients to stick around for a long term. It's not come in and go out. For us to be successful and do what we want to do, we need long-term clients that are happy and converting business into revenue and seeing those returns. Which is why not only do we need to look at our customers as a long-term entity, but actually the business themselves need to look at this and go, this is long-term. This isn't going to be a quick, smash and grab, as it were. And it's just, you can't look at it like that, because there's so much data. You guys noticed very quickly, didn't you, in terms of what you're saying, David, with, oh God, it's not working in 5 minutes. Let me change the image. You can't do that. It's impossible. And you need that data to feed through to be able to see actually what is and isn't working. To give you an example, we're running an account at the moment. Nick and I have just come off the call. They've got 150 grand spend in 8 weeks. Even now, we can't make it work. They've got too much money. So you've got one end of the spectrum. You've got somebody that's got too much, do little money, but you've also got somebody who've got too much. So it is horses, literally money isn't always the answer.
No.
It helps, but it definitely isn't always the answer. We've had a lot of clients who actually decrease their budgets because they know what their cost per lead is now, and they know how many leads they can take. So they've actually reduced their budget.
That's the thing. It's like our consultancy thing. We know where we can get it to, but we need people on seats. We need to have the after click. Once that leads come in, I have a call with these people. There needs to be a follow-up process in place. All this before it's scalable, all that's going to be knocked out. And I think it's weird actually, because you can never perceive what you need until you've started it. Really, can you? You don't know what the whole follow-up process, like the nurturing. You've taken on 2 clients from the nurturing process. You can double the amount of sales you get by just having a nurturing process in place. But people look at the acquisition of what's coming off the ads, but you're gaining an email address. So every time someone inquires, it's an email address. And then if you're not doing anything with that email address, then you're leaving money on the table. And you've seen that. So, it's going through those emails, tweaking the emails, seeing which ones open, which ones don't, resonating with them more, rewriting them. And it's just a long, long process to get the evergreen thing, because I think most people want this evergreen thing to happen overnight, and they want to be sitting on the beach going, hey, my business just works for me. James and I had a conversation about that last week, because, we want to create more freedom for ourselves and all these things in place and grow the company in a certain structure. But we know it's going to take ages for it to get like that, because there's so many things that prop up along the way. And you do need some human element. That's what you said last week, James. There's got to be some kind of human element somewhere with these, because even if it's just someone wanting an email answered or coming into the group or coming into a text or a WhatsApp, someone's got to be the end of that. How you do that? Do you have a VA somewhere else or whatever? There's lots of different really cool ways of doing that now to not have to employ people to do it. But all these steps are in place. But the fact that you're there and we're there, we're both in a good place that we've found those problems now. Because if those problems hadn't arisen, you wouldn't have got to that place for those problems to arise. Right.
You've got to know what they are in order to solve them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And what's really nice, actually, Sian, what you said about is they'll come and we'll build it. A lot of people build it and no one comes.
Like we're doing the podcast, though. We just started recording them, probably badly. And then when I remember when we started getting a lot of downloads, it was like, okay, now we're going to invest in like this microphone here. Now I'm going to spend 80 quid on a microphone.
Yeah.
But so many people go there. I think I read that one of the biggest things of people starting businesses, they spend more time getting their like little branded notepads and pens and business cards sorted, and then they sort of sit there on day one and go, "That's it. I don't know what to do now."
Yeah.
Like the exciting part was setting the business up, not actually growing and doing the business.
But it's hard.
I think it's often, I mean, it's something we come up a lot with the people that we work with.
It's part of the reason why a lot of people come on the course, because they keep coming up against
it's kind of labeled
those
as
obstacles.
like procrastination is what the word that springs to mind that people use, but it's deeper than that. Very often it is around limiting beliefs. Very often I think people will put off doing the very thing that they need to do to get the results that they need to get, albeit if those results are what you could deem to be a failure, i.e. you've realised that the nurturing campaign you've got's a load of crap. But better to know that it is that. But I think for some people, and I'm speaking this from my back, from the past for me as well, sometimes it's better not to know a painful truth and live in an ignorant bliss. And I think that is sometimes what goes on, not exclusively for everybody, but I do think that could be what is often going on. And it's nice to do the logo and agonize over the RGB colors and, you know, all these lovely things, but then
that nobody else cares about as much as you do.
Right? Yeah.
No, it's like names, like company names, like our sort of main company behind it, which is MRB Digital. That was from our other company, which is just basically made up. What does it stand for? We've had to make things up to say what it stands for. Let's Run Social came from the fact that we're called MRB Digital. And then
called me.
I was doing some, but basically what it came down to was I was starting to do some YouTube, some Facebook Lives to start testing Facebook. This was right at the beginning, and Facebook Lives, and they still do. If you go live on Facebook, though you may not have many people turn up to it, Facebook want to promote it because they want it to be live. They want to pull people in for live. So they'll then go and show people the replays. So you can actually grow quite quickly by doing Facebook Live. So I was doing the Facebook Lives for like 30 days straight, so I can look at the results. And there's only like 5-minute little things on how to do Facebook ads or whatever to the face. No one ever turned up. I don't think I've ever had one person on it, apart from a friend, which is more embarrassing then, because you know they're going to be just laughing at you. But I needed a hook saying, if you're interested, go here. And I was like, I need something catchy, because you can't say, I'll go to www./ blah, 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 blah. You need something catchy, and you just own the domain. And I thought, well, it's social. Let's Run Social. So go to letsrunsocial.com to find out more. And it was just like, that's just like the perfect name for the company. And that's how we came across that name. But, you know, we didn't spend hours sitting there thinking about even another package that we've just done, like the ads clinic that we've done. That was Matt who thought of that, I think, wasn't it? Was he just like, oh, the ads clinic, that's pretty cool. Like, you've got ads, they don't work, the ads clinic. And it's like, done. And then you just do it. You don't need to sit there. A lot of people sit there writing all these things down. I don't think there's a time and place for it, but it really doesn't matter. You know, our other company is 3 letters. And
no one's ever going to care as much as you do about it.
No, but so many people do. But yeah, that little phrase that you had is exactly the way it is as well. And I think also people don't want to. They want things, and I suppose it comes into that phrase, but they're scared of what the outcome might be, because it may not be positive.
Yeah, fear is like one of the biggest things that holds people back, which is why we do what we do, because it's helping them to release that fear so that they can actually go and do the very thing that they're not.
What are they most fearsome of? What other people think when they fail?
This is interesting, and I actually we talk about it quite a lot on the final week of our program. One of the biggest things is around fear of completion, and it links to what you just mentioned there, in that, what if I did get everything I wanted?
Really?
That's quite that is a
then what?
Then what? Because
I've got that.
Striving for something gives you a purpose.
Right? It's a reason for being here. It's something to drive and aim for.
But what if you did get all those things that you wanted? Like that. So that seems to be, which is really bizarre because you'd think that that wouldn't be an issue.
Well, whether it's money, materialistic things, living in Spain or whatever it might be, you've achieved it. But don't you think that like things just fall into place thereafter? Like if it was money and you suddenly got a load of money, new opportunities happen. Like suddenly it's like, oh, I'm going to do a bit of property, and suddenly different avenues always create and take you on a different path.
I mean, one of the things that we encourage people to do, because you're right, it could be that there'll always will be something different, is think of the biggest goal, think of the biggest thing that you could achieve, and then, and make note of that, and then think of the thing that's bigger than the biggest thing that you could achieve, because that will give you that momentum. And it may change, by the way, like it may be totally different when you get there, but it matters not. It gives you almost that mindset of, I won't be done when I've got that really big thing that I want, because there will be something bigger. And it kind of allows you to start to move forward to that without having that fear of getting it, because that is really a thing, fear of getting all the things you want.
That's crazy. Do you think that's one of the most popular ones that you hear then?
It can, yeah, it can be. And it's
and also the polar opposite, fear of losing everything you've got. Is one of the other ones here.
Yeah, and it can be within that, the kind of the fear of who will I have to become, what will I have to do, what will I need to sacrifice? Because saying that you want something that's big and shiny over there is all very well, but the things that have to take place in order to get there can be quite scary, because it's like, oh, actually, I can't go out with my friends every weekend because I'll have to be writing blog posts on a Saturday night till 11 p.m.
I think that's the thing that makes that's the difference between those who make it and those who don't, though, isn't it?
Yes, you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes to get it done.
But that is also one thing that holds a lot of people back, in that willingness to do what it takes.
Yeah, which is why it's got to be something we believe that you're really passionate about and you're driven about to achieve, because when the going gets tough, that will be the first obstacle and reason to just give up if it's not something that you really want to do. And
the willingness to be someone different, because I'm sure both yourselves are completely different people to who you were when you first went into business. And maybe the people that you hung about with back then, or, you know, as circles change, because if you're pushing yourself to get more, you constantly need to be surrounding yourselves by those people. And then the levels change as the game changes and you become more and more successful. So it's kind of that willingness to reinvent yourself as well, and get uncomfortable. And
it can be quite scary, can't it? There's a lot of uncertainty around it, because the friends that you're spending your time with at the moment, they may not support those big goals that you have. And even the thought of, oh, they won't be my friends anymore, that can be...
We've got some people in our life who will remain nameless, who still say to us, when are you going to get a real job?
Yeah.
You know, and it's that kind of, that's like almost
that
like
negativity and stuff.
We're not there anymore. We're somewhere different. Yeah.
But isn't that very British though, in terms of, you know, someone setting up their business and people going, oh, look, he thinks he's doing all right. Whereas in someone like America, you know, you set up your business, it's like, oh God, can I help at all? Whereas we're in Britain, we're like, oh, he thinks he's better than everyone else all day. You see what I mean? I think that's very, I'm not talking out of turn there, am I? That
No, there is definitely a societal kind of mindset around entrepreneurialism and what it means. And so, yeah, we agree with that.
Yeah,
I remember because you can pick up on people's reactions. When I set up my business, I was in the worst place I've ever been in my life, monetary-wise and stress-wise. Yet when I said to people, "Oh yeah, and I've set up a business," you saw a face of jealousy. It's like, seriously? Like, do you want to see what I'm going through? I don't have anything now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but I think a lot of people are just they're jealous of what you can achieve, because a lot of people want it themselves, but they're not prepared to actually.
Right. I think it's often a reminder to them that they're not doing the things that they maybe want to do.
Yeah.
And
we've completely switched this podcast into like, I love the way this is going. Our listeners are going, love this podcast now. They're all sitting there thinking, I don't know what to do. I should give up on my business.
Yeah.
We should get you like regulars. We should get our own podcast.
By all means.
Yeah,
you're right. It's a reflection of what you see in other people, as a reflection of what's going on for you internally. And the very things that you see as being as lacking in your life, when you see other people doing it, you'll find that there's emotion around it.
That's so true, because successful people, like people I know who've, really doing well for themselves, all they want to happen to you is you get to that same place.
Right.
Yeah.
Pay the things that they're doing and do the things they're doing and how amazing it is, blah, blah, because they've got nothing to fear of you making it as well.
Yeah, and it goes back to people's beliefs about themselves, because if you absolutely believe that you can have everything you want, then surely you wish the same for everybody else, because there's no limitations for anyone. So it's always a reflection of you as the individual.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, I think we're nearly at the end. We're nearly coming to an end.
We are, but there is one.
By the way, in the background, Nick.
What's that?
We're both living for that Porsche. That's
the Targa in the background.
Is it not a Porsche? That shows how much I know.
Yeah, no, they're both Porsches, but the one with the glass top, that one, that's a Targa.
Sean's a Porsche enthusiast.
Yeah, so a Targa is a type of Porsche, actually really quite expensive. So you got the 911, and then you've got like the Targa, and a Porsche. Someone else listening to this might be really, really into Porsche and go, "That's actually they're both nice." Or we'll come out with some numbers, but basically those ones have that. Even the new ones now, they still have that same shape of that bar, so you can take the centerpiece off. That's how you make it a convertible. It's called takes off, but it doesn't fold down. You take it off, and that's called a Targa. That's, I don't know, brand new. They're about 110 grand, I think.
Nice.
But those are some classics. That was given to me by Matt, actually. Matt gave me that stuff. So they're nice. So I have a lot of comments on those cars. But I'd like one of those. You?
I like the one I've got at the moment.
What have you got?
I've got a Porsche.
Sean bought herself a Porsche last year. This year?
Did you?
Last year, yeah. It's only a Boxster, but it's a 3.2. It's rather quick.
Yeah, I bet.
But I've got a need for speed, me.
So you're into Porsches, are you?
I like this one. It's my first experience of a Porsche. My partner converts Lotuses. He turns them into super duper fast sports cars.
He did Dan's, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Yeah. Ridiculous thing. Basically.
Yeah, that's what he does. So I've developed that whole need for speed. I scare you when we go out driving.
I've got a 1 litre Ford Focus.
Bit of a difference there then. So are you into cars? Either of you? Like, is there something that you want? What is it you want?
Oh yes, yeah. I have. So I've got my goal beyond the goal. So my next car that I'm going to get.
I was just going to say it. I was just going to say, what's the car above that?
Yeah, the next car this year, maybe this year, early next year, is going to be the Jaguar FType. But the one beyond that is the Aston Martin.
Oh, that's the Aston Martin. Right.
Nice. Which Aston Martin is it?
I'm yet to decide, because there's a few I like.
The new shape ones are quite nice, aren't they?
They're rather lovely, yeah. So yeah, that's the goal beyond the goal. Who knows where I'll go after that? I'll have to get
that would be my thing, will be just wasting money on those sort of cars.
So mine's different. Mine's I'm more into like having a bigger garden or allotment.
You've just sold your BMW to get to downsize the car.
I sold my BMW to get a
garden shed.
My little Focus. But I want to start getting into growing fruit.
And it's all about that. That's the thing with life, isn't it? It's about what's important to you and accepting that everybody's different.
Well, I'm really into gardening and stuff like that. And I would, one of my things is to have a beautiful like country manor house, but I want the garden to be so spot on that there's a village near me. So my mum's got a friend who lives in a village just outside Stratford, and the village is full of retired people with a lot of money. Consists of about 18 houses, and in the summer the village opens itself for a weekend to look around the gardens of those houses, because that's how well they're kept. Okay. And these are amazing. And I've always thought to myself, I'd love something like that. So you'd be involved in it. Someone else would be doing it, but just to have like a garden that's just like unbelievable.
I love that. It's such a brag. Like, come and have a look at my garden. It's so amazing.
Completely. Oh, just let you know, I have everything. I'm going to let you look at my garden.
Are you going to share, James? We've got cars, houses, gardens. What's your big thing?
I'm really easy, aren't I? Already know. Not a lot. Yeah, I want a banker. I just want to. I don't want a neighbour.
I don't want neighbours either.
I'm with you on that.
I've got a big thing about just
people.
You look, just people. Yeah, just neighbours. Just neighbours. So as long as I don't have a neighbour, I'm really content. And that's pretty much it, if I'm honest. I'm quite easy, really.
Or you can just get a tent and put it in a field and job done.
Okay, tents though. We're having this
Land Rover Discovery, the dogs, the kids, and a country house.
Nice.
Yeah, dogs are key. Get the dogs in the boot. But yeah, after that, I'm pretty content, really. Really easy.
My list is endless. I can email it through.
Yeah, email it over.
We love to hear about people's goals. So yeah,
we might nick a few things off there for us.
Endless. I think every day something's added to it.
Love it.
Well, brilliant. Okay, well, I think that was awesome. We kind of went from like marketing, business growth to self-awareness and goals and achievement and stuff. But no, really, really good. Got anything else you want to ask, James?
Yeah, I was going to say actually. So for the listeners, because no one's going to be watching this, is if you are part of our Facebook group, Sian and David will be doing something there at some point. We don't know when. But at some stage there will be, or what, but they will be at some stage. But that is on our master plan, as you guys know. So yeah, but apart from that, no, it was really good having you guys, and yeah, very interesting actually, in terms of I guess where you started with Facebook ads, and actually it was very honest of you, David, to say that you were frustrated at the beginning, going, oh dear, what are you doing, all that, and it's so true, and it's nice that you persisted and saw the value in not just using us for ads, but that post-click, stuff that we try and help everyone with, because it's not something a lot of agencies do, but it's as important. It really is.
Well, the whole funnel is, we're a Facebook ad agency that focuses on the funnel, because unless you can't create longevity unless you're figuring out what happens after the ad has got the lead or got the purchase or got the add to cart. That all has to be tied up, and that's what creates longevity with our clients, because we concentrate on the whole thing.
And whilst I get that there is a business benefit for you guys in doing that, because obviously the more successful the adverts, the people are converting, the more likelihood they are of continuing with you. I think we also would like to say thank you for your patience with us whilst we've been on this educational journey. I certainly kind of have gone back to that 14-15-year-old stroppy blue-haired baggy jeans teenager mode at times,
listening to Spice Girls.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So thanks for being patient as we've gone through school again.
That's all right. No problem at all. That's what we're there for. So it's awesome. It's great to have helped you on the journey, and look forward to what can come.
Well, before we go, Sian, Sean, David, can you plug your website? If there's anyone listening that does want to, I guess, know more about you guys and what you can do. Do you want to give a little plug?
Go on, put your best voice on.
My best voice. Yeah. That was a good start, wasn't it?
They won't understand me, so you do it.
From the Black Country.
Yeah.
So our website is beyondcompany.co.uk, and we can be found on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at the Beyond Community. Our podcast will be launching 14th of June, so a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that's the Beyond podcast.
Nice. I'll listen to that.
Nice. And if anyone wanted to know about your courses, I guess they just go on your website and they'll find details there.
Yeah, absolutely. On the website, you'll find the programs page, which talks you through the different levels of training. And there is a free training that can be accessed there as well.
It's a really cool training, actually. The free one.
Yeah, some free resources, videos, and a free training to get started with goal setting and an introduction to NLP.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll get Charlie, who does our podcast. This is going to sound really podcasty. They'll put the link below for the thing.
In the show notes.
Can we do that? I've always wanted to do that. Click below.
No one watches us, David, anyway. So
okay.
yeah, we can do
it anyway. Click it.
Perfect.
Brilliant, guys. Well, listen, have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the weather, which has finally
We
come.
will. Thank you for having us.
We'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you for coming on, guys.
Pleasure. Good to
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later, guys.
Bye.